Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another Beyond the Benefits podcast episode. I'm your host, Mark DeFee, and joined with me, as always, is my co-host, Zoe Kobrin. Zoe, how are you doing today?
Hey, Mark. I'm doing well. Thank you. It's great to be back with you.
It is. I know since the last time we talked, you've been doing a little traveling and having fun with your summer vacation. So it's great to have you back stateside.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be back, and I am really excited to have a special guest with us today who I have known for about 20 years now. We worked together at our very first EAP, Marjorie Mangot. She is not only a clinical social worker, but also an accredited coach. And she's our communications manager here at CCA, as well as an account executive, and really the perfect person to help us talk about why utilization slumps in the summer and what we can do about it. But first, I would just, hi, Marjorie.
Hi, Zoe. Hi, Mark. Oh. Well, this is definitely a passion of mine, for sure. So I'm very glad that I'm here joining you today.
Thanks, Marjorie. So yeah, what do you think are some of the main reasons why we see these dips in utilization over the summer?
Yeah, well, I think, common to many of us that in the summer, the nicer weather, there's more to do. It tends to uplift our mood, uplift our spirits. It's vacation time. The kids are out of school. There's less stress in that way. And, because of the warmer weather, I think, just people tend to think less about maybe, mental distress. But, just because it's warmer out doesn't mean that mental distress goes away in the summer. A lot of times people will push back on getting help because there's, so many other things they'd rather be doing. So really just want to remind them that there are many ways that you can still take advantage of CCA, of the Employee Assistance Program, even if you're not looking for mental health support.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were saying that, I was just thinking too, I wonder if, to some extent, especially for parents, maybe they struggle with privacy. Like they don't have as much time, maybe, or structure when they would have that space. And so I think what you said, again, is particularly important, right? Like reminding them of other ways they can take advantage. Like maybe they're just going on the web app, right? And doing a CCBT module in the evening. But yeah, that's, I think, very important just to remind them that like all those other types of support are there.
Yeah, for sure.
So having kind of understood where this utilization slump comes from, especially around counseling services, what can organizations do to maintain high utilization, maintain that visibility of their EAP program during the summer months? Like, what would you suggest brokers talk to their accounts about during this time?
Yeah. I think it's really about meeting people where they are in the summer. So, what are some of the things that they're doing in the summer? Are you taking a vacation? Or maybe, kind of thinking about planning a vacation, but not really sure about how to get started, or, finding, lodging, or, finding things to do in the area, or what are some great places to, check out for food. All of that legwork, all of that research, can be done by our work-life specialists. So, that is something that's a great way that someone could utilize the program, just with vacation planning, taking that time off of their plate to, do the legwork, do the research, get back to them with confirmed referrals, and then, they can kind of take it from there. And I would even say, like, along those same lines, if you're taking a vacation and you have a pet, perhaps you need a place to board that pet, or someone to come, sit for that pet. And so those are other things that we could also, research and help locate for employees and their family members.
Those are great points, Marjorie. And I think I love this idea of, meeting people where they are, right? Like focusing on what is feeling relevant for them. And I think just like, we were saying that oftentimes people sort of push, maybe, scheduling counseling or things like that for the fall. Oftentimes in companies, HR, might decide to push because they know people are traveling, right? Maybe they think they won't have as much of an audience. So I really like this idea of still putting it out there and really trying to make it most relevant to what they're experiencing in that moment.
Yeah, yeah. And it has that dual, capability of really helping people where they are and also letting people know that there's so many other aspects that the EAP can support with. So a lot of times I think people don't even realize that, pet care or vacation planning are things that the EAP can support. Um, another thing too, in the summer, a lot of times, maybe with some downtime, people have more time to do projects. So if you're looking for, let's say, a contractor, a painter, you know, again, these are things that we can help, research and provide referrals on. Even I know, vacation just started, but at some point during the summer, we got to start thinking about back to school as well. So, what are some things that you can, kind of check off that list? One thing I love to mention is our Savings Center, which is available on the website. A lot of
Love the
great
Savings Center.
Yeah. The Savings Center is, has a wealth of, great discounts, deals. So, back to school discounts, activities that you can do during the summer. Mark was, recently telling me that he and his family just got, an amazing discount to, the movies this past weekend through the Savings Center. Again, travel discounts, looking for car rentals, things like that. So the Savings Center is a great benefit to, I would think, push during the summer and all year round, but especially during the summer, and that can be accessed on the website.
And I'm always going to jump in here and talk about the Savings Center whenever I can because
Mark is the biggest proponent of the
yeah, I really am because one, I love this topic because people don't realize the breadth of EAP services available, but this Savings Center, there is so much you can do on there. And Marjorie mentioned my family, we went to see Lilo and Stitch the other day, but it also has tickets to theme parks and amusement parks and just a number of ways to get out and enjoy life. Maybe, gift certificate to a restaurant that is nearby that your family likes, but how do you get out and just enjoy life, but, make it a little bit cheaper? And some of those don't even apply to this time of year. But year-round savings can be just kind of happening in the background. So for example, I have 2 kids in daycare, well, 1 now, but I truly save about, I think, $3,600 a year in their daycare tuition just for a one-time sign up through our Savings Center. So if you're thinking about the fall and what you're going to be doing with your kids and daycare needs, just know that just logging onto this Savings Center and doing work one time will automatically deduct from your tuition each week, or at least that's how it's worked for me. And that's $3,600 each year. We're just putting directly into my daughter's college savings. So people need to pay
walk
attention
away
to the
with,
Savings
with
Center.
nothing else from this call.
I know. And so I'm going to stop talking about it. I talk about it all the time, but it is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
People don't realize is there.
Absolutely. We've been talking a lot about parents over the summer too, right? Or needs for kids, but I would say even for people maybe who are single, and kind of questioning like, am I going to try to take a vacation, right?
Yeah.
Or how do I want to maybe use some of my time off? Just helping to them to explore that too, right? I was also just going to say, just in terms of, again, for people maybe who have, maybe for those who do have kids at home who've depended on the school lunches and are really feeling the burden of having to pay for, extra groceries or maybe figure out those childcare arrangements. If finances are an issue, absolutely, that can be something to highlight as well.
Yeah.
Great call out.
So Marjorie, one thing I wanted to ask is, What should members expect when they reach out to CCA asking for help with some of these work-life services? What's the process like for our members?
Yeah, great question. So when people are calling in for work life, they are going to have you'll be able to select a prompt that allows them to be connected to a work life specialist. We'll initially want to gather some basic information just to be more personable and then really understand what it is that the caller is looking for. We don't want to keep them on the phone for, an excessive amount of time. We really just want to know kind of what their key criteria are as part of their search. So, going back to the summer camp example, we want to know, like, how old is the child? Have they ever been to camp? Are you looking for a camp, that is a day camp? Is it a sleepaway camp? What kind of activities is your child interested in? Do they need to have transportation to and from camp? So just kind of collecting all of the requisite criteria, including your budget. And then we will take that information and just kind of those 15 minutes and then get to work. So seeing, first kind of seeing which camps meet that criteria. And then ruling out the rest. And then once we have that list of camps that meets that criteria, we're going to be reaching out to those camps to confirm information, to confirm that they are indeed accepting new campers for the summer. And so when we get back, usually within 2 to 3 business days via email, to the caller, we will have a whole packet of information with usually, 2 to 3 confirmed matches. So here are 2 to 3 camps that match your criteria. We've called, we've confirmed availability, and then we encourage the caller to reach out to those camps and then determine for themselves which one would be the best fit. So we're not really recommending one camp over another, but these are the ones that match the caller's criteria. In addition, we will also provide, questions to ask the camp, so that you can make sure that you're getting all of, your questions answered and making an informed choice. Maybe if it's, a first time camper, what are some things to expect? What are some things to pack? If your child is, kind of going for the day, what are some things to bring in their bag? Sun safety, so it's not just going to be those referrals. It's going to be, kind of a packet of information that can really support you moving forward. I think one important distinction to point out about CCA is that all of our work-life specialists are in-house and that we therefore have greater control over the quality assurance of the searches. And so it really enhances the product that callers receive.
And I think that piece is important because these are services people don't know a whole lot about. And if the quality isn't great, then they might not want to learn more about their EAP. So having that oversight of CCA staff members doing this work is a big differentiator that people, don't always understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes people don't know exactly what they need, and that's where our work-life specialists can really help them, right? Getting a sense of what the issue is, their challenges, their goals, and then making suggestions as well.
Yeah, I think, even just sort of building on that point and bringing in something we were talking about earlier is that, yes, our work-life specialists are really trained to kind of assess holistically. And so if someone was calling in, to go on vacation, we might proactively ask them, do you have any pets? Because they may not even think to use us for pet sitting or boarding. And so, they might not have thought to call us for that, but it's still a need. And so we can, capture that in that call.
Exactly. Yeah, and the more comfortable they get using us for these other things, the more likely they are to reach out if there is a more, acute need.
Yeah,
For sure.
certainly. Well, we know this podcast is focused on helping brokers look good in front of their accounts. So what might we tell brokers they should be encouraging their accounts to do right now to maintain high levels of utilization?
Yeah, yeah. So, really encourage your accounts to push out our quarterly service flyers. We have service flyers on the Savings Center, on summer camp, on travel and leisure, the legal financial center. So, those are available to request or push out. This is also a great time to, maybe do a seminar or webinar on a lighter topic. So sun safety, yoga, mindful meditation. So taking advantage of the seminar hours in that way. And then also on our website, we have some great tools. We mentioned the Savings Center, as well as a mindfulness center. So these are kind of short meditations that people can, go through on their own to maintain that sense of Zen or achieve that sense of Zen when they need it.
I think that last one's important because as Zoe's comment earlier about during the summer, schedules are disrupted. So people might want to at night just, listen to a CBT module or, video or whatever. So I'd love these ideas. Zoe, anything to add?
Yeah, these are great. I mean, I would just say that it's another opportunity to reinforce this idea of promoting mental health in the workplace, right? So even just encouraging people to use their PTO, right? Saying, hey, we understand, even when you're on vacation, mental health or other needs don't take vacations. Like remember to use some of these supports. And I think for the, as benefits consultants, you're in a great position just to be able to remind HR folks about this, and that even if maybe not as many people are attending or seeing, like you're still getting it out there, and that's really important. And helping them plan proactively. Like we see this around the holidays too, like pre-holidays, there can be that a slump, and just thinking about, okay, how do we want to remind people about the benefit during that time? Maybe we want to plan now for some kind of, initiative. So just encouraging them to think about getting a little bit out of the box and thinking about how to reach people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the three of us can agree. We've seen the pattern so often of groups talking about EAP during, open enrollment and benefit season. And, employees are kind of drinking from a fire hose during that time, trying to just understand all the amazing benefits being provided by their organization. And so those more kind of down times where they're not taking in so much information are great opportunities to talk about the EAP because, like I mentioned, there's so many services available. It's kind of hard to remember all of them if you're just hearing it one time in like November, and then you're seeing a flyer maybe in May during Mental Health Awareness Month. But this consistent promotion and variation of topics, I think is crucial for high utilization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, when we don't, CCA doesn't take a vacation, and we know that Wellbeing doesn't take a vacation when we need a vacation. But we know that things still come up year round.
Yeah,
So yeah, great way to keep the EAP top of mind.
and my last plug for the Savings Center, I also think of it as if you ever want to take a mental health day, you could hop on there and go find a nice, movie ticket, or if there's a local theme park or whatever. Like, I think it can play into people who are recognizing, oh, I could probably take a day off and do something to recharge. We might be able to, help in that regard too.
Yeah, or even as you said that, Mark, I was thinking even for like organizing internal sort of, outings with coworkers, right? Maybe you're picking a day to do something like that. It could be a great resource for that too.
Yeah. Go to some restaurant together or something.
Okay. Well, Marjorie, thank you again for being with us and for everything that you shared, and some really great strategies that people can take advantage of. And on a personal note, it was just great to get to see you as always. And Mark, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Of course, Ellie.
Likewise, likewise.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you to everyone listening. We do hope you'll join us for the next session. And until then, take good care.